Thanks for joining us. This is Agenda Awani. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Earlier today, Malaysia Aviation Group, or MAG, have introduced their long-term business recovery plan 2.0. Joining me this evening is Captain Izham Ismail, the Group CEO of MAG. Thank you, Captain, for allowing us to come here. I've always driven past here for so many times, but never imagined the kind of environment inside the Malaysia Airlines Academy. But let's get straight to the point. The long-term recovery plan has always been touted as the item that is going to bring Malaysia Airlines back from the brink of, I guess, destruction, if I can use the word. There's a lot of empathy towards the company, and there's a lot of love as well towards the brand by Malaysians all around. But just like many of us, we are kind of worried about the kind of sunk cost that has been dropped into this company. And very recently, Khazanah Nasional has introduced a 3.6 billion further injection into the company. So we all are wondering, what is the money going to be used for? Today we learned that you are going to change from a pure play aviation group into something different. Let's walk through the long-term recovery plan 2.0.
Thank you, Ibrahim. First and foremost, let me reflect a little bit on history. As you know, this organization has been laden with a very distressed balance sheet for many years. And this is a contribution of overcapacity at the marketplace, where fares has been depressed and we have very irrational pricing at the marketplace. And there were many attempts by previous team members to reset or restructure the balance sheet, the financial portion. Lukewarm success to a certain extent, and the closest that we had was in 2015 through Malaysia Airlines restructuring plan. And that was not totally resolved. And when when I took over the job in 2017, that was the time that my eyes really popped out and see the balance sheet. Right, I can't do this. Right, it's a humongous task for us, for me especially, to take this airline forward with a heavy laden balance sheet. Many attempts were executed. To a certain extent, we invited strategic investors in 2019 to explore whether they're able to help us in this context. But while that conversation was happening, came 2020, COVID-19 happens, the pandemic happens. And I find that this is the right time, because in any adversity, there's an opportunity. An opportunity where the ecosystem, the value chain, my partners, my creditors need to have a conversation with me to restructure the business for them to be successful as well.
You know, they always say that never let a crisis go to waste.
Correct.
So I suppose you're embodying this message.
Precisely. So the restructuring was not to induce pain to all our creditors. It's really an objective of to survive the pandemic. Henceforth, we went on, we initiated the restructuring activities sometime in April, May. The team started to explore what are the legal path that we can take, and what's the appetite from our partners, our creditors, our vendors, and so forth. And at that time, they have already awarded us waivers, moratoriums of rentals, and so forth. And the conversation went deeper. Admittedly, the first 3 weeks was very rough. When we got the board approval and we went to the creditors, it was very rough. I myself, I'm not a restructuring expert. I have to learn on the run at the same time. And so does my team. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a young team. My C-suites are all young, average age of 45, 2.5 years on the job. So the beauty of it is that new ideas came in. New ideas of how do we restructure our financial structure. And Alhamdulillah, we were successful in restructuring ourselves, and we achieved the restructuring effective date, 22nd of March. The restructuring comes with a condition. It's called an interconditional agreement between all creditors and our shareholder.
Okay.
Right. So what it means that
in this case, Khazanah,
shareholders Khazanah, all the creditors, we must achieve a 100% agreement. Only then.
You mean unanimous?
Unanimous. Only then our shareholder will decide to provide us working capital.
Okay.
So it's not bailout. It's not injection, it's a working capital.
So this 3.6 billion?
3.6 working capital.
Okay.
For the next 5 years. So where will this 3.6 billion be used? some people say, oh, it's to pay off staff. No, our payroll cost is approximately merely 7%. So the 3.6 billion will be used to digitalize this organization. The new business that we later we're going to elaborate further, our MRO business, building hangars, equipping hangars. And we have aeroplanes that we need to bring, or rather to bring in, the 737 MAX as an example in 2024, that requires funds. And end of lease aircraft that we're retiring. And to beef up our mass cargo and logistic operation, right? And to equip Firefly with jet operations. Those are the 3.6 billion.
Retirement of A380 even?
Retirement of 380, we call it, and that requires money too, right? So today the aircraft is not flyable, it's on long-term parking. We need to put in money to make it flyable to fly to a destination, whether it will be sold or will be part out eventually. As I said earlier, that management will be making recommendation to our board that 380 is not in play, and we will. So that's where the 3.6 billion in a nutshell is going.
Okay, so when you went into the court case in the UK, we're confident that you will go towards the favor of Malaysia Aviation Group?
Not really, Ibrahim. To be honest, when we mooted this idea to the board asked us, what's the success rate of this restructuring?
What kind of lawyer would give a diagnostic statistics on that?
But anyway, I was very candid with my board. I said the success rate is 10%.
Okay.
Right? And of course, everybody's like, 10%? You want to do this? I said, tell me what's the other alternative, right? So alhamdulillah, we found that by filing our restructuring to the UK courts and the process that we took, we're being very transparent with all our creditors. What it means, transparency, Ibrahim, is that creditor A will be able to see what's being offered by creditor B. Creditor C will be able to see what's offered by creditor A.
So there's no information arbitrage, so to speak?
None. Everybody sees what everybody's getting.
Okay.
Very transparent.
Okay.
And the process was really very clear-cut. To a certain extent, the feedback I get from creditors, these are benchmark for the future conversation.
What surprises me more, other than the verdict, is of course the timeline of this case being concluded as well.
Very fast.
Strange for me.
Very fast.
So what made it fast? What made it move fast?
First and foremost, as I said, the first 3 weeks was very tough. But after the creditors see our long-term business plan, they digest the numbers, and to them, this is a journey is worth to be with.
Okay.
That's why the conversation went to the next level. Now, I want to be in play with you. How do I make this happen? So from there onwards, we were clocking from 10% creditors that agreed, 20, 30, 40, 50. By the time we know it, on the day of the court sanction hearing, which is on 22nd of February, we had 98% agreed to the scheme. And we got only one aircraft operating lessor who is still deciding. And alhamdulillah, on the 11th hour, to be exact, 6 hours before the court hearing, they agreed. So we achieved 100% even before we entered the court. So when we go to the court, and we went to the court, the judge was merely academic, says you got 100% agreement, so he just sanctioned it.
So the working capital was agreed upon to be given, but the amount, was it decided before or after this court judgment?
Okay, so the 3.6 billion was a mathematical forecast calculation that we did. If everything comes into play with the future demands that at the marketplace, we put all the parameters in, and we're confident this 5 years journey, that's the amount of money that we need. Right, 3.6. It's not come in one lump sum. It will be infused, it will be injected to us in stages where we've predefined when the money should come in.
So it's multiple tranches?
Multiple tranches.
Not a single lump sum?
No.
All right. Having said that, now there's a lot of moving parts in you running the business. There's also that whole ongoing conversation of strategic partners. In a recent interview, Khazanah Chairman Shahri Reza Rizwan was also talking about how things were still ongoing, trying to get other partners in. He didn't mention by name. I suppose. Japan Airlines is one of them. Many other players are there.
That's 2019.
But now that is all, I don't know whether put on hold, or are you
No.
still going to be talking about it in the future when pandemic is over? Because we all know airlines are still talking about consolidating.
So I'm on the same page with Datuk Syaril in that context. This is not the time for us to even explore talking about strategic investors, because everybody need to get their house cleaned up first, right? And
But you're not putting it off the table.
no. But not now, Ibrahim, not now. I would say in the time period 2024, 2025, when Malaysia, when global economy is stabilized and many more, and of course, if partners are able to bring in new technologies, new knowledge, we welcome them. And I run the organization, but this question is best answered by my shareholder.
Okay.
So, but my shareholder is on the same page. This is not the time.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the business transformation outright. Now, we've delved a little bit deeper in terms of what the history was. We agreed that we want to touch a bit, but it turns out that was a very lengthy conversation. One thing that struck my attention was that you don't want to be an aviation pure play. So walk through us through that.
All right. Long-term business plan 2.0. That is our future aspiration for Malaysia Aviation Group. And the long-term business plan was not a tabletop exercise that was executed a few months ago. It was an exercise, a plan that we put in place in Q4 2018. And we activated it at that time. We called it long-term business plan, because we don't envision to have 2.0. And we activated that in 2019. And Q3, Q4, it actually turned the corner. We did things differently. We did not follow the market. We did not force ourselves, induce ourselves to be price sensitive. We flood the market with products, and it turned the corner. Then the pandemic happens. So we were asking ourselves, how do we take ourselves forward? But we were very clear that, one, we need to restructure our balance sheet. Two, we need to manage the crisis, meaning we need to manage our cash flow. Thirdly, we need to turn around our P&L. So we can do this, the first one, the balance sheet, done. The cash flow will be continuously a crisis until unless capacity demand comes back to the marketplace. But P&L will take time, and P&L needs a plan. And to turn around P&L, it is not an overnight thing. It will take time, at least 12 months, at least 24 months. And that is where we decided, and we look at our long-term business plan in 2019. And with that confidence and conviction, we decided that, hey, this plan will work. What we need to do is to rebase it. The definition of rebase, I consider year 2020 as ground zero. You start from scratch, right? You build from whatever you have, and you build from there. So we rebase it. And we ask ourselves, what's important now for the future? One thing we know that every 10-year cycle, the global industry will be hit by an economic shock. It can be through pandemic, it can be through stock market or
any others,
factors,
right? Yeah, go on.
And then we have to protect this organization from future shocks. That's number one. So this is where we strongly believe that Malaysia Aviation Group shouldn't put all its eggs into one basket, which is a pure play airline business. And we know we have strength with regards to our capability of MRO, maintenance, repair capabilities. We know we are very strong in our cargo operations. We have ground handling services and so forth. We have an academy like where you're sitting here today, which provide very, I would say, up to speed training for aviation industry. So we felt very strongly that we should now spread the basket across, right? Henceforth, the evolution of 3 profit centers, which is being in play. One is the pure play aviation business, airline business. Second one is the aviation services business. And the most recent and the newest one is the travel solution business. You know, Ibrahim, consumers want seamless experience.
I agree.
Not only during their travel, but during their shopping.
I agree.
When you go and buy flights and all that.
I agree.
And when you're planning a flight to go to London, you start thinking about where you want to stay. As Muslims, where can I eat halal food, right? I have a pet, 2 cats at home. Where do I put them? And who's going to send me to the airport, right? So we put that all the package into we find that it's a good, seamless proposition for consumers. The minute you do your booking, you will be able to do your hotel booking. You will be able to book a Grab to the airport, and you will be able to organize your food, your makan issues in London, for example, halal. And we have a product that we can take care of your pet. So you come to the airport with your pet, right? And we'll take that pet to our MAB Cargo Pet Hotel. We house them for 2 weeks. That's a glimpse of a travel solution.
So my big question here is, do you have the core competency to pull this off?
Admittedly, we don't.
So you're going to buy companies?
No. This is the transformation journey that Malaysia Airlines has to undertake.
So you're talking about the current headcounts that you have and right-sizing, re-equipping them to do this.
Correct. So the key word here, Ibrahim, is unlearn, learn, and evolve.
Okay, you've been right-sizing for quite a bit. You meaning the organization, from 13,000 to now 11,000. I saw the numbers just now.
The day I joined the airline was only 1,500 people in 1979. In the peak of the airline, my career, at one time we had about 30,000 people, and in 2015 we downsized it down to 13,000 plus people. Today we're sitting at 11,006.
So
that's for the group, yeah.
Yeah. So this 11,000 people are going to pull this off.
Yes, inshallah.
All right.
But with regards to technology and expertise, no doubt we need partners. We need partners.
Again, more money will go into this.
No, it will be, I would say, commercially viable proposition, revenue sharing to a certain extent, to make this work.
Okay. My big question here is on the timeline of break-even and cash flow positive. You were mentioning that 2023
Inshallah.
Is the date. Now, I am not an investor. I am not part of Khazanah. I have all the patience in the world. My argument and my thinking is, before we sit down, is that 2023 is a very optimistic timeline. Yeah. I'm sure the folks at Khazanah might have a different idea.
2023 is on a downside scenario.
All right. So upside scenario?
As early as quarter 4 2022.
Okay. Yeah. And how did this number come about? How do you conjure up this number?
We ran a lot of simulation. As I mentioned, we were running the restructuring in one track. The other track is managing the crisis, which is the cash. And the third track is a long-term business plan. So there are 3 teams working in parallel. So we ran simulation, lots and lots of simulation, and connecting to the other 2 tracks. What if our balance sheet is this size, this shape? How would the business, the projection looks at in moving forward? The model that we use, that we put in, we are able to predict to a certain extent, to a certain degree, what the market looks like in the future. How much will be leisure-driven, which is low-cost market? How much will be premium-driven? What consumer wants? What is the cargo freight demand? What is the MRO business demand? Example MRO, from now until the next 10 years, Ibrahim, we know how many aircraft will be terminating their lease. And once when an airline end the lease of an aeroplane, they have to build back the aircraft to its original state before they send it back to the lessors, right? That's potential business there. And we know there are hundreds of aircraft in this region. And Malaysia is well positioned because we are, I would say, one of the lowest cost base in the context of running MRO. Our team members, engineers, example, English speaking. The terminology that we use in aviation is capability. It's not that I'm capable. It's the licensing that they carry. They have that capability to
authorized.
Authorized. And we felt that, hey, this is the business that we should really diversify. So we ran simulation, upside, downside, base case, and we run, Ibrahim, trust me, we ran a lot of simulation. And this is all done internally by MAG Group. We also have the Khazanah working team assisting us with resources to run these numbers. And with that, we have conviction that if the market remains as what we predicted, henceforth the future of 2025. But you know, Ibrahim, in this current state, I have to admit, sometimes crystal balls get hazy.
Yeah, well, particularly on external factors. Internal factors, you seem to get it all together. You know where is what, where is what, and how to pull it off.
Correct. And
pandemics.
Correct. That is the crystal ball that I cannot predict, really. I have data that can predict the future. The data that we use is our forward booking, the vaccination programs of countries, the slots, schedule application by airlines all over the world that operates in our region. So we roughly know what's the market capacity is going to be in the marketplace. But with the recent resurgence of viruses in India, that puts everybody to the back foot already. You know?
Speaking about which, what about this whole hoo-ha of the passenger commercialization cargo thing happening in India right now?
Okay, thank you, Ibrahim, for bringing this up. I just want to make some clarification here. First and foremost, those flights are all cargo flights. There's no passengers on board. We have not been carrying passengers in and out of India for many months already. And the other thing is, we do have repatriation flight from India, but this requires approval. So for us to get additional slots to run cargo into a certain country, it's quite taxing to a certain extent to get approvals. So what we did was, we have available flights, which has already been approved bilaterally by both governments. In this context, I give you an example, MH197 flies to India. It's a commercial passenger flight. But we use that flight, convert it into cargo. So it's not that we remove all the seats, no. The belly of the aeroplane is where we fill everything up with cargo, and we fly those. And those are essential cargo that is needed by our country, cargo, in Malaysia. Example, pharmaceutical equipments, medical supplies, handphones, laptops, microchips, and so forth and so forth. This is, if you stop Malaysia Airlines or any airline from Malaysia for flying cargo into a country to feed trade into Malaysia, it will impact the airline, but bigger picture, it impact the whole country.
But the lesson here is that things can get out of hand, particularly with social media. There's a lot of detractors out there that want to see you guys fail. This is just one of the story. How do you see yourself in trying to insulate from all these negativities and make sure that you do your job well, despite the noise?
You know, Ibrahim, I certainly invite, in the current world of social media, if citizens or netizens or consumers have any issues, for example, in this context of Malaysia Airlines bringing
passengers
from India,
so to speak,
put a post in our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We respond to it. Rather than making statement that is not justifiable, not proven, then it got out of proportion. And of course, I take it very seriously because that's an accusation against the organization that I love. The people in this organization that was working very hard for the last, I would say, more than a year, who have taken pay cuts. That's another question we want to
definitely
conversation afterwards. And I felt very important is my duty to protect this organization, to make it clear. So henceforth, I was not hesitate to take action. So I did file a police report, and I just want to be clear that don't take MAG for a ride. And this organization has been established since 1937. The DNA of an airline, any airline, is safety and security. No, any airline will not waver on those main principles.
Captain, when you took over this job, and this is an unenviable job to have, you were mentioning that you're here to do a job. You're here to get it done. Now, you're managing not 500 souls on an aircraft, you're managing 11,000 souls, plus the branding, plus the Malaysian aspirations and all that.
Plus the value chain.
Yeah, exactly.
More than 100,000 people.
So this has to be the toughest aircraft that you have to fly.
Yes.
Now, the question is, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel to make sure this works?
So, Ibrahim, I've been here for 41 years. Started off at the age of 19. I had the opportunity to pursue higher education after I finished my MCE. Do you know MCE?
SPM, precursor.
A precursor, MCE.
Yeah. Boleh bapak saya ni.
Yeah. I had a scholarship to do engineering in UK. I came from a very poor family. I felt that this is the fastest track for me to take my family out of poverty, so I took the flying job. I don't know what it was at that stage. The application was made by my sister, who's currently who is a retired.
You didn't even apply?
I didn't apply. I just gung-ho, I wanted to be an engineer. I've grown in this organization. I began to love, I grew, and this organization took me out from poverty, and I've been moved 18 times in this organization with different portfolios. And rightfully said, Ibrahim, this is the toughest portfolio that I'm experiencing. And I've never even fathomed to take the lead in this organization as I was in management. I joined the company 41 years.
Yeah.
I went to management 30 years ago. I never even fathomed this, right? Honestly, what I'm doing is not for me anymore. I'm 61 years old, Ibrahim, ready to retire. But before that happens, I really, really want to make sure that this organization serve the nation, provide return investment to our shareholders, provide social returns to our country, our people, our stakeholders, our community, and our people, and the MAG staff. So this is I would say, my purpose, right? It's not about me anymore. It's about Malaysia Aviation Group, Malaysia Airline, a brand which is synonymous to nearly all Malaysians, right? And everybody is so critical when Malaysia Airline does something wrong, right? Because I believe everybody is in love with Malaysia Airline. And this is love.
Isn't that what you do? You're critical. I wouldn't even think about criticizing Qatar Airways or British Airways. I mean, it's nothing to me.
Correct.
But the 32 million Malaysians out there love Malaysia Airlines. Correct. And they want to see it work. Honestly, the first flight for many of us is on a Malaysian Airlines.
Yeah.
And I don't know now, maybe your competitor, the Red One. But generally speaking, that is the love that the country has for this brand, but it has not been able to get itself out of a rut.
Correct. And mainly driven by the heavy laden balance sheet that we have inherited.
Yes.
Coming back on our competitor, AirAsia, the country needs AirAsia, right? Because we have two segments of consumers, the premium segment and the low-cost segments, right? And it's very important that the country or the policymakers manage the capacity at the marketplace, really.
Right. Which brings to the point, back to that statement that Shariza was talking about, this country might not have the market for many airlines to operate out of.
I agree.
And okay lah, things have been done, right? Now we have a lot of airlines operating, and then nobody's flying, and then the consolidation has to happen. But that's why the case for Malaysia Airlines taking precedence over the other airlines has to be strong.
Correct.
It is an open marketplace after all.
Correct, after all.
Do you feel that Malaysia Airlines has the necessary business argument to say that, okay guys, if anybody is supposed to be the last person standing, it's us. We have to do this.
Yes, Ibrahim, after the restructuring of our balance sheet, Malaysia Airlines is in a much stronger position. We are now agile and lean in regards to our cost structure. All we need now is top line revenue. With the three profit centers, with our 5 pillars of our long-term business plan, remain Asia-Pacific centric, recapture our domestic ASEAN market, deeper collaboration with partners with our partner airlines, diversify our non-airline business into aviation businesses and digital. With these 5 key pillars and the 5 values that we hold, people as our true north, a customer with center of gravity. This is one very pain point. Malaysia Airlines lost its ways between 2015 thereabout, that we were really hammered by our customers for not fulfilling our obligation, our promises to them. Safety and security is our
of course.
DNA,
goes without saying.
Right? Sustainability is our mission. This is very important. Sustainability is not only in environment, but it's in economics, in governance.
The ESG.
And being a GLC, Malaysia Aviation Group must showcase a strong GLC with strong governance, right? A lot of people do a lot of talks with regards to interference and so forth. But during my time, Ibrahim, there was no interference, right? There was no interference from stakeholders and so forth. Everybody allowed me to run the business freehand. Even my shareholders, full of support. Datuk Sharul gave full of support, my chairman and my board. And I just want to circle back the earlier, which I didn't answer fully. Do I have confidence of the future of Malaysia Airlines? with the long-term business plan, the 5 pillars that we put in place, the scenarios that we built in, the modeling that we built in, with a very lean cost structure that we're going to have in the future, all we need now is top-line revenue. I'm confident that the team members in Malaysia Aviation Group, as a group of 11,000, Malaysia Airlines specifically as 7,000, of which 80,000 are production staff, would be able to take this across.
Okay.
And my purpose is to make sure that this organization has established itself for the future. Then I've done my job, right? I know that I might not see the bounty.
But that's not the point.
That's not the point. That's not the point. You know.
I mean, we just talked about ESG. It's about governance. It's about instituting.
Correct.
Instituting the change.
You know, Ibrahim, when I retire, if I see.
Hopefully, in many years from now. So.
When I retire, when I see Malaysia Aviation Group grow, you know, it just brings smile to my. I'm hoping for that, and I've done, and that's my purpose. And Ibrahim, there's no secret agenda. I'm a pure play. I'm a guy from the streets. I'm thankful to the organization who sent me for training, sent me to Oxford, to Harvard, all over the place. I thank them so much to equip me with knowledge and skills for me to do this job, and move me around the organization on different portfolios 18 times to prepare me for this job. And you know, Ibrahim, nobody will be ever prepared for anything.
I agree.
Yeah, and I hope, I have full conviction and confidence that Malaysia Aviation Group will be successful with our long-term business plan 2.0.
Captain Izham, let's talk a little bit more about the pure play move from pure play towards the 3 profit centers. You were talking at length about the various impact towards all the facets of the business. The biggest one that you keep on repeating is people. And you were mentioning that people is going to be the biggest determinant whether or not this works or not.
Correct.
There's also an argument of, or allegations out there, that salary is going to be huge in Malaysia Airlines. That's why people are facing a tough time trying to understand why Malaysia Airlines can't solve its own business. Is that accusation true?
Let me address the number 2 question first.
Yeah.
Salary. That's number 2, right?
Yes.
The salary. At the onset of the pandemic, we know that the production staff need to be reduced, right? And we were looking at ways, how do we manage the situation? Mind you, our payroll cost is only 7% of our total cost on a monthly basis, right? It's very small. So what the management team has done, staff, team members with certain level of salary, upwards, right up to the board, will take reduction in salary with an objective to support the lower income group, our baggage handlers, our check-in counter staff, our cabin crew and so forth. So that money saved is now protecting the livelihood of the rest. In total, the reduction of our payroll during the pandemic and now is about 55% from our usual payroll. And with that, we are able to keep everybody together. Now, why didn't we retrench people, right? As you can see, aviation is a highly skilled environment, workforce, pilots, cabin crew, engineers, even our check-in counter staff. You need to train them right, on how they manipulate the system. And let's take an example of a pilot. If we feel very strongly that the market will rebound itself in Q1 2021, let's put a date, January. So you work backwards. It takes about 9 months, 6 to 9 months to train a pilot, right? So that falls into what, April? If I were to let go people in January, in April I go start recruiting. It doesn't make any sense, Ibrahim. So it's rather than that, I say, hey, I got a proposition for you. Why don't you guys take no pay leave? So I pay you half your salary, right? And I have to commend the pilot community has taken a huge pay cut. They have taken 66% pay cut just to ensure that the organization survive. So now I have a workforce which is ready, and the impact to our operational cost is now minimal.
Yeah.
Right? I still have these team members who have sacrificed themselves. And not only the pilots, we have engineers, we have management team. You know, Ibrahim, Malaysia Aviation Group is not a sexy company. We have...
Why do you say that? I feel that it is.
No, it's difficult for us to attract talents. We can't pay top-notch salary to talents. People don't want to come to us. We are located 60 kilometers from the city. Nobody wants to join us. So, and the people that we have here, to a certain extent, is beyond dollars and cents. I believe those who are here, the management team, my board members, the lower management team, are here because of, you know, the purpose that they have in their heart, that this is something that is kind of like their responsibility. So this is where the organization has taken a lot of hit. And well, how many transformation programs that we've gone through for the last 20 years? 5, I believe, right? And we always end up the same. And because of the heavy laden balance sheet cost structure. But now we've got that out of the way, right? Right? Now we've reset that, inshallah, with that lean and agile cost structure. As I said repeatedly, all I need now is top line, the market position. So now, how do I capture this market? Customer is very important. That becomes our center of gravity. I feel very strongly that Malaysia Aviation Group have to restructure itself, not in the context of balance sheet, but the way we do business. Continue to remain pure play aviation airline, but strengthen our aviation services and entry into a marketplace which is new to us, the aviation solution, which is digital. Admittedly, Malaysia Aviation Group is not a totally 100% digital company before this. We are digital in the context of operations. We operate aeroplanes, our engineering equipment, our aircraft maintenance program. Those are all digital. But now, making the whole organization digital, even offering our products to our customers through digital, this is new.
Yeah, so that's the argument here. The story that you tell, the fact that you grew with this company, to be frank, and the story is similar to 99.9% of the entire staff of Malaysia Airlines. It's not a job, it's a responsibility. In fact, it's a lifestyle. And one would argue that they too want to see this,
definitely,
do well.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are out of depth. I can't fly a plane.
Yes.
I'm sure if you train me, probably I can. But I'd be better off driving a car.
Correct.
How close are they?
Okay, a very good question.
Yeah, the gap, I mean.
I give you two examples. One is my head of corporate safety, right? So he asked me, Captain Izham, how can I contribute to the long-term business plan? I don't touch customers. I don't sell tickets. I don't develop products. I says, how do I participate? I said, my head of corporate services, my head of corporate safety, his name is Dr. Razin, a retired general, a very fantastic guy. And I told him, says, Doc Razin, safety is your product, right? If you can guarantee and fulfill the comfort of our customers, that safety is upheld to the highest, that itself is a product. That is your participation. Now, my recent, 2 weeks ago, I did sahur with some of the engineering staff at the hangar. So they asked me, an artisan asked me, Captain Izham, how do I contribute to the long-term business plan? He says, you know what? When you fix an aeroplane, make sure it is full of, the airworthiness of the aeroplane is fulfilled. Give you a very small example. You're there repairing the IFE, the video screen in front of the seat.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, in-flight entertainment.
In-flight entertainment.
Yeah.
Right? You make sure that this TV screen works. When the passenger sits there, switch on, the TV works, and he smiles. That itself is your contribution to the long-term business plan. So to answer your question, Ibrahim, every staff has its role. It may not be digitally directed, it may not be directly digital related, but the things that they touch, that eventually will touch the customer's heart. That's where I feel the organization is rallying, and I've seen this move, 2018, 2019. Our net promoter score in 2017 was minus 22. And, well, it's one company that people don't like at all. And in 2019, we were plus 10. We climbed 30 points. So, hey, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
And the something right was, customer is our center of gravity. Whatever we do is our customer. Of course, safety is here. Safety is number one. So customer is the next that we really drive very hard.
In fact, a lot of conversations when we talk to MAS CEOs or MAG CEOs of the past, it's always about the cost. Not many people want to talk about the revenue. So I'm going to do a little bit different here, and I'm going to ask you, and if you can be candid about it, are you confident that 2022 is when the customers are going to come, or are they still going to be, working from home, reduce travel, that kind of stuff?
Correct. So the consumer segments in 2022 are beyond, to a certain extent for a few years beyond that.
Yeah.
I don't see much movement from corporate. Right?
Okay.
Right, corporate. Organizations are very efficient today working from home.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see businessmen traveling unless otherwise really needed.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see a company moving loads of people to do a retreat somewhere in the next 24 months to come at least. Right? But I see leisure market remains. I see VFR traffic, which is visiting friends and relatives, prevalent. I see the market with regards to conferences, MICE. That's relevant. And I see the market of families on holiday segment. That market remains. Conservatively, we plan our market. We plan our top line revenue based on those limitations. So whatever plan that we put into play until for the next 5 years is very, very conservative. So if anything comes beyond above that, Alhamdulillah, Ibrahim, really. And the plan that we put into play is very, very conservative.
So from the three profit centers that you discussed, do you envision the overlaps between the customer segments, or do you feel that there are some profit segments profit centers that might have unique customers altogether?
Yes.
So for instance, this travel services?
Travel services.
It's going to be just purely customers that touch the customers. Correct. Just on that. They don't touch the other two.
Correct. Now, I'll give you an example. I have the airline business. We have the airline. I keep on using the word I.
Yalah.
Yeah, it's
Ini you punya.
No. Actually, this long-term business plan plan is coined by team members throughout the whole organization. We're going to have the airline business. We have the aviation services business. And we have the travel solution business, right? These people, they just purely fly aeroplanes.
Okay. And they don't mind not doing any other stuff. They just want to do that.
They just fly aeroplanes, right? And of course, revenue management, inventory control come from here. But the portion of reaching out and really driving customer proposition is a travel solution portion, right? Aviation services. Are they related to the two profit centers? Yes and no.
Yes.
Right. Example of cargo and logistic. We recently launched MH door to door. Right. That might be related. If I'm repairing for another airline's aircraft heavy maintenance, that's not related at all. So to answer your question, yes, there are some which is really specific. There are some which are not. Right. Another example which is core to the travel solution business is our enriched product. Our loyalty program. That is very key. Currently, we have about 4.7 million members. That itself is a base. It should start off. So I'm excited with the 3 profit centers and the 5 pillars that we're driving it, and the values that we drive in the organization. Inshallah, Ibrahim, we have a chance.
The sense of urgency is clearly emanating from you right now in this interview. My final question is, do you feel that the organization shares your sense of urgency and desire and perhaps even aspiration to make it work?
Well, to be honest, first and foremost, I'm grateful for this organization that has given me all these years for the last 41 years. I want to repay that back. I have full conviction and confidence. And yes, in me, there's full of urgency. I'm a man in a rush.
Yeah.
I'm a man in a hurry.
Sounds like that too.
Yeah, I'm a man. The organization knows that. And I'm a control freak by nature. seriously. And I get my fingers involved in everything in this organization. Not that I don't trust my C-suites, I do. But by that action, the organization sees that, hey, this man is running. We need to catch up with him. And Ibrahim, I'm nice to you here, but within the organization, I am something else.
Okay.
And I've been getting this feedback, and I asked them, did I offend you? I said, no, Captain, this is what we need.
I agree.
I said, okay, fine. So continue to do what you're doing. I don't mind being scolded, and I don't mind being put on to be reprimanded, to be put on performance notice and so forth. So it's okay. 41 years. I believe I know people by names, not all, majority, and the organization, they message me directly, and they don't call me, most of them don't call me Captain, so I have a nickname in Malaysia Airlines. They call me Baam. So that's the relationship I have with the team members in Malaysia Aviation Group, and to be honest, I have good synergy with my C-level, and I have good cadence and rhythm from the organization in total. Admittedly, not 100%, yeah. This is a journey of transformation. There's a cultural shift, mindset shift.
Yeah.
I need to make people unlearn and evolve. And most importantly, I have a very committed board member.
Do you feel that the continuity can happen no matter who's at the helm?
Yes. You know, the board has set the cadence that succession is very key. It's like going to war. You have one person in front.
Yeah.
If the guys fall, the next person falls into place. So we have that. And I'm very grateful that the board is very supportive. And I would say they challenge me very aggressively.
The board, you mean?
Oh, very aggressively.
Shareholders?
No, I'm talking about the board first,
All right.
The board. And you wouldn't want to be in my board meeting. They are very respectful, they are very professional, and they're really, really challenging.
It's not a rubber stamp.
It's not a rubber stamp. And my board is very, very strong in governance and integrity, right? And I actually, shivers when I go and see my board.
Okay.
Because I know that they're going to really dissect me and my team, whether this plan really works, before they endorse it. So long-term business plan, the restructuring activities was really a tough sell from our side to our board. And a very supportive shareholder, right? A very supportive shareholder who, to a certain extent, arm's length, do not interfere in the business. When I have problems, I go and seek, I would say, advice and guidance and steer. They give their inputs, and I bounce it back to the board. And the likes like, Izham, do you need resources? We can help you with resources. And I would say, currently, minus the pandemic, minus the market, I see the universe is aligning for Malaysia Airlines. The stars are aligning. Slowly it's coming aligned. And inshallah, I always tell this to my team, God is master of all planners. You can plan as much as you want. If God wills it to happen, it happens. If God wills it not to happen, there's just something not right. Or there's something that's in store for you in the future.
What a way to end. That was our conversation with Captain Izham Ismail of the Malaysian Aviation Group. I'm Ibrahim Sani, signing off for this interview.